Understanding why you cling to someone is not a sign of weakness. It is an act of courage. It is the moment you decide to look at yourself without masks, without excuses. Because deep down, you are not just clinging to that person, but to what they symbolize for you: protection, belonging, validation. And when you manage to identify that, you can begin the true journey towards yourself. In this video, we explore the deepest teachings of Carl Jung on attachment, the unconscious, and inner transformation. Because attachment is not just an emotion, it is a language of the soul, a symbolic map that guides you towards what you have not yet integrated. Letting go, from deep psychology, does not mean becoming cold or disconnected. It means stopping emotional dependence to start loving with awareness. It is beginning to choose yourself, to value yourself, to give yourself what you previously sought outside: love, care, acceptance. From that more conscious place, bonds stop being built on need or fear of loneliness, and are born from the freedom to share yourself fully. This is not a video of quick tips. It is a transformative guide based on Jung's thought, a guide to look at your shadow with compassion and transform pain into wisdom. A journey through the roots of attachment to transform it into emotional freedom. The internal deception when we call need love. Sometimes we can't let go even though we want to. We know that this relationship is not good for us, that it no longer contributes to our lives, but we remain there. And not because we are weak, but because our emotions are tangled in deeper roots. Emotionally detaching is not simply taking distance. It is looking inward, exploring our unconscious, as Jung proposed, and discovering why we remain hooked. What part of us seeks something it believes it does not have? Perhaps we are not loving the other, but seeking in them an answer that only we can provide ourselves. Maybe that person reflects an unresolved part within us, a wound, a longing, an emptiness. And as long as we do not see it, we will remain trapped. Idealizing is disconnecting from reality. Many times, what hurts us to let go of is not the person, but the narrative we built around them. That story where the other is the savior, the one who understands us like no one else, the only one capable of making us feel alive. But the truth is that this image is colored by our projections. We attribute to the other qualities that deep down we wish to cultivate in ourselves: firmness, tenderness, direction, confidence. We convince ourselves that only with that person can we feel complete, and thus dependence is born. When we begin to observe more clearly, we realize that it was not the other who had all that power. It was us who, without realizing it, handed it over. The real question is not, how do I distance myself from him or her, but what part of me am I trying to rescue through this person? Humanizing the other, seeing without the filter of need. One of the most revealing steps of detachment is starting to see the person for what they really are: a human being with virtues, yes, but also with flaws, contradictions, and limits. This does not mean denying what you shared or erasing what was valuable. It is more about removing the veil of idealization. It is about stopping seeing the other as that almost perfect figure, and recognizing that it was not them who gave you what you needed, but rather you projected onto them what you had not yet developed in yourself. By undoing that distorted image, you free that person from the role of solution and yourself from the role of incomplete. And that changes everything. Rediscover your essence without the relationship. When we are emotionally tied, we often lose our way. We start to define ourselves through the other, what they like, what they expect, what they need. Little by little, we stop listening to our own voice. That's why detachment is not just about distancing yourself. It's a return home. It's about re-inhabiting yourself, listening to yourself, asking yourself, what do I want? What feels good to me? Who am I without this story? And this doesn't require grand gestures. It can begin with simple yet powerful acts: going for a walk without hurry, writing in a notebook what you feel, reconnecting with your passions, allowing yourself to be with you without judgment. Because when you return to yourself, everything changes. The power of self-compassion. There will be moments when you feel like you're going backwards. No matter how much you want to move forward, something in you still clings on. Perhaps you are overwhelmed by guilt for having endured so much, or shame for having exposed yourself so much. But this is where self-compassion comes in. Letting go is not a straight line. It's not about doing it right or quickly. It's about accompanying yourself in the process with tenderness, with patience, allowing yourself to feel without judging yourself. Understanding that it is not a weakness to cry, to be afraid, or to need. What truly strengthens you is not abandoning yourself in the midst of it. Self-compassion is your internal refuge, your support on the days when letting go hurts. It is the voice that reminds you that you are healing, even if the world does not see it. Claiming solitude, a space that nurtures. Many associate loneliness with lack, with sadness, with failure. But in reality, knowing how to be alone is one of the most transformative emotional skills you can develop. Chosen solitude is like a personal retreat, a time to listen to yourself, to rebuild yourself, to fall in love with yourself again. And no, it's not easy at first. We are so used to defining ourselves by our connections that being alone can feel uncomfortable. But if you push through that discomfort, you will discover that there is a deep peace on the other side, a sense of home within you that no one else can give you. From there, the relationships you build will not be out of necessity, but by choice. And that changes everything. Choosing yourself is not selfishness, it is self-love. Detaching does not mean forgetting, denying what you've lived, or closing your heart. It means rather that you decide to be true to yourself, that you choose to stop living for someone else, that you learn to give yourself what you were so desperately seeking outside. Companionship, respect, recognition. Sometimes letting go feels like losing, but in reality it is a way to recover yourself. And you are not giving up on love, but on the illusion that it can only come from another. Because true love, the one that liberates, the one that transforms, begins with you. Detachment as a path to integration. This whole process is not a goal that is achieved all at once. It is a journey, a path that goes from dependence to emotional autonomy, from seeking outside to building within, from needing others to feel alive to learning that you already are, with or without company. And on that path, you are not alone. You are with yourself. Detaching is not closing your heart. It is opening it towards yourself. It is not hardening yourself, it is strengthening yourself. It is not stopping loving, it is learning to love yourself. Path to emotional freedom. Techniques to cultivate your inner autonomy. Reaching emotional independence is like climbing a mountain. It may seem like a long and sometimes challenging path, but each step brings you closer to a state of true balance and well-being. When you stop seeking in others what you can give yourself, the need to idealize dissolves, and you begin to inhabit yourself more fully. What once seemed like a loss, letting go of someone or something, becomes a powerful gain, the return to yourself. It's not about living without connections, but about learning to relate from a place of freedom rather than lack. Now that we have explored how attachments are formed and how they impact your emotional stability, it's time to look ahead. Emotional detachment is not a leap into the void, but a conscious construction. It's not about disconnecting from the world, but reconnecting with yourself. And for that, I propose a series of practices that can make a real difference in your life. 1. Start with yourself. Knowing yourself is freeing. The first step is to look at yourself head-on. Often, we get attached to certain people because we unconsciously believe they have something we lack: love, validation, security, purpose. But those qualities already exist within you, even if you may not have recognized them yet. The key is to ask yourself, what part of me do I feel that person completes? A simple yet powerful tool is introspective writing. Spend a few minutes each day jotting down your thoughts, emotions, and expectations about that relationship or bond that troubles you. Write not from judgment, but from curiosity. Ask yourself, what do I really expect from this person? What am I trying to resolve through this connection? You may discover that behind that apparent love, there is fear of loneliness, a need for approval, or a search for meaning. Detecting these patterns is like turning on a flashlight in a dark room. Everything starts to become clearer. When you understand where your need for attachment comes from, you are in a better position to transform it. 2. Strengthen your emotional autonomy. Your well-being does not depend on anyone else. Emotional independence does not mean becoming cold or distant. It means stopping the habit of placing the responsibility for your happiness on others. It is an internal change. You move from needing someone to choosing to share with someone. The difference is enormous. Start reconnecting with yourself through activities that bring you pleasure and make you feel valuable simply for existing. Pick up that hobby you had set aside, set personal goals, even if they are small, and honor your body and mind with practices that nourish you, moving, meditating, breathing, being in contact with nature, or learning something new. As you strengthen your identity, you realize that you no longer need someone else to complete you. You are already complete. And from there, any relationship you form will be freer, more conscious, and more authentic. 3. Dive into your inner world. Connecting with your deepest emotions is like learning a new language. At first, it's difficult, but once you master it, everything changes. There are many ways to do this inner work. Writing is just one of them. Another powerful practice is dream analysis, a highly valued approach in Jungian psychology. Your dreams can reveal aspects of yourself that your conscious mind has not yet integrated. Do you dream of someone who is no longer there? Of places or situations that repeat? Write it all down. Over time, you will be able to recognize patterns that reflect your attachments and unresolved emotions. It's like reading between the lines of what your unconscious wants to tell you. You can also practice active imagination. Close your eyes and visualize your life without that bond that creates attachment. Not from a place of lack, but from a place of possibility. What would your day-to-day life be like? What would you do differently? How would you see yourself when you feel whole without depending on another person? This technique, also inspired by Jung, allows you not only to imagine, but to rehearse a new way of being in the world. One where you are the center, not the absence of another. 4. Accept without judging, and treat yourself with kindness. Emotional detachment is not a straightforward or immediate process. There will be days when you feel huge progress, and others when it seems like you have taken a step back. And that's okay. The key is not to demand more from yourself than necessary. It's normal to feel sadness, nostalgia, or doubt. The goal is not to block these emotions, but to learn to be with them without letting them drag you down. This is where self-compassion comes into play, being able to embrace yourself just when you need it the most. Treat yourself as you would treat a loved one going through the same thing. You wouldn't say, "You should have gotten over it by now," but rather accompany them with patience. Do the same for yourself. You can practice this with brief meditations focused on self-care, or simply by speaking to yourself with respect. Phrases like, "I am doing the best I can," or "This too shall pass," can be powerful anchors in difficult moments. Every step you take towards your emotional autonomy is valuable, even the smallest ones. Detachment is not disconnecting from love, but starting to love yourself first. 5. Embracing solitude, a fertile space to discover yourself. There is a huge difference between being alone and feeling lonely. The former can be a nourishing choice, the latter, a paralyzing feeling. Part of the journey towards emotional independence is learning to coexist with yourself kindly, without seeing solitude as a punishment. Solitude can be a sanctuary, a place to reconnect with your rhythms, your desires, your silences. It is in that space where you can truly listen to yourself, without interference or external demands. It is there that clarity is born. For many people, being alone is uncomfortable at first, because thoughts that had been buried by the distraction of company emerge. But if you allow yourself to stay in that space without fleeing, you will begin to discover that not only can you survive in your own company, but you can also thrive. 6. Set boundaries. Reclaim your energy and protect your emotional space. One of the most powerful acts of self-love is setting boundaries, not to distance yourself from others, but to protect your energy and maintain your center. Many times, attachment is fed because we don't know how to say enough. Start by observing when you overexert yourself or forget about yourself to please others. Perhaps you constantly check someone's profile on social media, or you engage in conversations that leave you emotionally drained. It's not about cutting ties completely, but about creating spaces where you are the priority. You can start by setting times when you won't respond to messages or avoiding certain topics that hurt you. Talk about it with those close to you if you need to. Setting boundaries is not selfish. It's emotional maturity. It's a way to remind yourself that your well-being matters, and don't just set boundaries with others, but also with yourself. Sometimes we are our own worst saboteurs. Do you find yourself reliving the same mental scenes over and over? Acknowledge it, breathe through it, and redirect your attention to something more present. The more you practice this, the more you'll notice how you regain your center. Practice gratitude and anchor yourself in the present, the compass towards balance. Emotional attachment is often fed by idealized memories or fantasies of a future that does not exist. We get lost in what could have been or in what we hope it will be, and we stop living what is. Gratitude is a practical and powerful way to return to the present. You don't need big things to start. You can be thankful for the sun coming through the window, for a kind conversation, or for having the courage to begin this transformation process. Write down 3 things each day that you are grateful for. Do it even if you don't feel like it. You will see how, little by little, your focus shifts from what you lack to what you already have. And from there, everything begins to change. When you live in the present, you reduce mental noise. You are no longer in the movie of what if, or in the anxiety of what if in the future. You are here, now. And this is where you can start to heal. A way back to you. Emotional detachment is not insensitivity or coldness. It is a freer and more conscious way of loving. It is letting go of need to make space for genuine desire. It is learning to share without clinging. It is understanding that you can choose to connect, not out of fear of being alone, but because you enjoy the connection. Following this path will not always be easy, but every step you take, no matter how small, is a declaration of love towards yourself. You are not giving up on connections. You are giving up unnecessary suffering. You are choosing to grow, heal, and open yourself to new ways of being in the world. Trust your process. There will be days when you make a lot of progress, and others when you need to stop and breathe. Both are part of the journey. Remember, the goal is not to arrive quickly, but to arrive consciously. With every step you take, you get closer to your center. And from that center, everything else falls into place. Thank you for being here, for opening your heart, and for choosing this journey of transformation. If this content has resonated with you, and you want to continue exploring tools to strengthen your inner world, I invite you to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any of the upcoming videos. Here you will find more reflections, practical resources, and deep conversations that will accompany you in your personal transformation process. See you in the next video.